Hello, guys, and welcome back to the second episode of the Paramount Fitness Podcast. And today I have a very, very good friend of mine, a fellow personal trainer, and just all-round legend. Can I introduce you to Mr. Rob Horslen?
How are we doing?
All right,
Good.
thank you.
Yeah, very well, thank you. All good.
How is lockdown treating you?
Yeah, it's getting a bit too used to it now, I think, aren't we? But hopefully on the home stretch now, hopefully not too much longer. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure about that. Anyway, this isn't a COVID podcast. So, right. So I wanted to get Rob on the podcast because you've been through one hell of a journey. I'm not going to tell too much. That's what the podcast is about. But as soon as I wrote the list of people that I wanted to have on, Rob Horslen was one of the names first on the list. Like I said, we've been friends for a long time, 11 years.
Yeah.
11 years.
Yeah.
Which is a long time. And in that time, I've been able to witness you achieve some incredible things. Some of the things that we'll touch on today. So I'm going to take it right back to early years, before I even knew you, but obviously now I know about it. And yeah, just going to go straight in. You lost your brother very early on. Okay. Would you like just set the scene for everybody if you could?
Yeah, I mean, my little brother was 12. He was fit, healthy, obviously very young. Played every sport under the book. Happy, cheeky, chappy, basically. And yeah, I mean, he came home from school one day with a headache. Next day, sort of started to feel sick. Next day, he was in hospital, and then it was just all a bit of a blur, even to this day. He lots of ups and downs while he was in hospital. Lots of possibilities that it was this, it was that. If it was this, then it would be a good thing. If it was that, then it would be a bad thing. And yeah, I mean, eventually he sort of got taken to intensive care in St Mary's Hospital in Paddington. And then the following day, yeah, we lost him. So yeah, just as I say, it's one of those things that it kind of feels like yesterday, and at the same time, it feels like an absolute lifetime ago. But yeah, obviously, just a very, very difficult time for everyone who knew him.
How old were you at the time, mate?
I was 19 at the time.
Okay, so like I said at the start, you're a fellow personal trainer. You weren't a personal trainer then.
No.
Where were you at in your life at the time?
I think, if I'm honest, that's another thing that was quite difficult for me at that time. I mean, obviously not that it would be good at any time, but it was kind of at a time in my life where I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was actually working as a sort of handing over electrical goods at Wembley Arena while they were currently building them. So I was literally just stuck in this metal cabin signing out light bulbs. And that was literally it, from 6 a.m. It took me 2 hours to get to Wembley, and I had to be there for 6 a.m. And yeah, obviously it wasn't really where I wanted to be, but it was kind of a means to an end. I was also working in a pub at the time, which again, at the time, I absolutely loved. It was absolutely brilliant. But again, not one of those things where I thought that I wanted to be in the pub game for the rest of my life. So I suppose it was quite difficult in terms of I didn't know what I wanted to be. I was into my fitness, but at the time I was 19, wasn't I? So I was into my fitness, but I wasn't a fitness fanatic as such. So that at the time, I can genuinely sit here and think, I don't think it even sort of crossed my mind that I would end up being a personal trainer. I just didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know what I wanted to do in my life. I didn't know what I wanted to do with anything. So yeah, it was a really difficult time, if I'm honest. But yeah, and sort of obviously when something like that happens, it's completely kind of life-changing and just, yeah, crazy.
Mate, sincere condolences. I said it to you year on year. We talked about it a lot. I think it was probably one of the first things you told me when I met you, actually, and we'll get to that in a bit. But How did that impact your health? How did that impact like the choices that you were making at the time? Obviously, you were in a job that you didn't like. You were working pub, which you did like. So you had this daytime job, which was just soul destroying for you at the time, and then you had this kind of escape at night. But then in the back of your mind, not in the back of your mind, but it's like anything. When you're at work, it's an escape, isn't it? Especially in a pub environment, it's escape. And although you don't go a day without thinking about Oliver, but for a bit of time in the evening, you're just like, you can switch off. But then when you finish work, boom, it hits you again.
Mm-hmm.
How did that impact your health?
Pretty badly, I'd say. I kind of, it's weird. I was kind of at an attitude of, I don't really want to swear on here, but F it. Do you know what I mean? Like, whatever. Let's just, do you know what I mean? I was drinking too much. I was always quite a social guy back then as well, just in terms of I used to kind of go to the pub with my mates. I used to, the pub that I was working in used to be on the way home from the train station. So occasionally I'd nip in for a drink back then. And like, do you know what I mean? So I was sort of that way inclined. And then obviously when this happened, it did kind of go a little bit more sort of to the extreme. But yeah, I wouldn't say I was incredibly healthy, put it that way, at the time.
Yeah. So then fast forward a few years, go on.
No, I was just going to say, and on top of that, obviously working sort of late hours and everything else, I was sort of tired. I was eating whatever I wanted, so I was kind of gaining weight. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of, as we all know, it was just a bit of a full circle, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, a bit of a vicious circle that you couldn't get out of. Fast forward a few years then, 2009, you do so this 3 years after Oliver's passed, you do your first marathon.
Yep.
Was losing Oliver the catalyst for that?
100%. Yeah, it was kind of one of them things where I wanted to do something for the intensive care unit, who obviously worked their nuts off to try and save him. I wanted to try and raise a bit of money. We'd done a couple of fundraisers before, like we'd done a fundraising evening, like raffle and all that kind of thing. But I just kind of wanted to do something to kind of challenge me, something to impact on my health in a positive way, and something that I was passionate about in terms of raising the money for Cosmic, which is Children of St Mary's Intensive Care. So I managed to luckily get a place in their team for the marathon, and yeah, it was solely to raise money for them, basically, at the time. So
you've got a 3-year time frame there between the passing and the marathon itself. When did you start to, or at what point did you go, I've grieved enough, I've put on enough weight, I'm making my health deteriorate? What point did you go? Did you have a light bulb moment when you went, can't do this anymore, Rob? Oliver wouldn't want this anymore, Rob. Let's change it.
I don't know, to be honest. I'm not sure it did really kind of happen like that. It was more, I suppose, the marathon did change things for me, because obviously when you're running, you've got to kind of back that up with your lifestyle, especially when you're kind of training, you're doing the distances that you have to do for marathon training and things like that. So I suppose it kind of came hand in hand with the marathon training. Yeah, I'd kind of say that was kind of more the case. It was kind of everything kind of sort of come together with the marathon training. So just making sure that I was getting more sleep, I was eating better, I was sort of reading up, because obviously at the time I didn't know anything about marathon training, I didn't know anything about training, I didn't know anything about nutrition, I didn't know, do you know what I mean? So it's kind of one of them things that I kind of had to learn on the job. So I was reading up a lot on sort of different blogs from marathon runners, and just kind of trying to sort of gather as much information as possible. So I suppose it came with that you want to be drinking less alcohol, if any, you want to be eating better, you want to be getting more sleep, and I suppose it just kind of came hand in hand with that, really. And obviously because I wanted to complete this marathon so much, and there was no other option but to complete this marathon after the money that I'd raised and everything else for such a special cause to me, I couldn't really let myself and others down. So it had to be done. So it kind of forced me, I suppose, into changing. in that respect.
Going to the day of the marathon now then, and you've just crossed the finish line. Can you sum up?
One of the best feelings I think you'd ever feel. It's just, instant, a massive weight off your shoulders, because you know that you don't have to kind of train so hard, like instantly straight after. It was just packed, just full of emotion. It was crazy, really. I honestly would say to anyone, if you haven't done a marathon, even if you kind of, to find a cause that you're sort of passionate about and to raise some money for them, even if it's literally, I don't know, a couple of mates sticking 20 quid in a pot for you to finish it, or do you know what I mean? Just anything at all, just cross that finish line, and honestly, it's worth every single moment of training, every single moment of pain, every injury that goes with it, everything. Honestly,
you've sold it to me, Rob. You've sold it to me, Rob. I mean, the furthest I've ever done is a half marathon, and I did the Robin Hood half marathon, probably 2017, maybe 2018. Anyway, 3 or 4 years, 2 or 3 years ago, maybe. And I crossed the finish line. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed being out in my city, Nottingham, for those of you that don't know me. It's called the Robin Hood half marathon, and I crossed the finish line, and I just thought to myself, couldn't do that again. But I totally get it when someone has such a significant motive that you don't care. You could have probably, in the mindset that you had at that time, you could have probably run 2 marathons.
Well, I wouldn't. Easy now.
You've just got a desire. You've just got a desire. You've just got a hunger to whatever you'd have said. If a marathon had, if the event was 1.5 marathons, 30 miles, 35 miles, whatever, you would have done it.
100%. Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Yeah, no, definitely.
But 2009 didn't end up all roses, did it? You was made redundant in 2009?
Yes, I was, yeah. So I was in IT recruitment. Again, fell into it. Again, people that know me know that I can barely turn a computer on. So I had no knowledge in IT. I still not a salesy person in any way, shape or form. I found myself in a recruitment job, and then managed to get a recruitment job sort of in the city in London, in quite a big recruitment firm. And then financial crisis hit in 2009, which you just said. The business kind of because we were sort of IT based within a financial industry, and we were just literally, my first couple of weeks was to sit on the sofa in the office, looking at watching Sky News, just crossing off all of our clients that have just like folded as companies, like Lehman Brothers and all those kind of big banks and companies and things like that. So obviously didn't really start a good time. Just lots and lots of sort of pressure, lots of redundancies around me. And it was, I think, around sort of September time in 2009 that it was sort of my turn really, to be made redundant.
Which is quite ironic, really, considering we're currently recording this during a global pandemic, and there'll be people being made redundant. There'll be a lot of businesses going under.
Yeah.
And you've mentioned 3 things already, 3 significant things: a bereavement, loss of your brother, a monumental fitness and health and lifetime achievement of running a marathon, and a really big impact in kind of stress for a lot of people, which is a redundancy. And like I said, a lot of people who are listening or watching this will resonate with those 3 things, 1 of, 2 of, or maybe all 8, maybe unfortunately all 3. But what I love about you, Rob, is that all 3 of those things you've just switched and you've made them into a positive. So you've just been made redundant, 2009. What did you do?
I suppose that was kind of the point where I decided that I didn't want to be in a job anymore that I dreaded getting up for in the morning. I didn't want to be in a job anymore with pressures like I know obviously every job has pressures, but because I wasn't very salesy, to sort of have those sales targets constantly in the back of my mind, I found it really hard to switch off in the evening, not knowing whether I'll go into a job the next morning, basically. I just kind of decided that with my marathon training, I was kind of running with a lot of friends, and they were sort of, they sort of said that I was sort of quite motivating in that respect and things like that. And I kind of just put two and two together really and started doing some research in personal training and what courses were available. And yeah, just kind of, I suppose, obviously I thought about it, but it was a bit of a spur of the moment thing, really. I was quite lucky that I qualified, and quite lucky that I enjoyed it. Because it was kind of like, right, yeah, I want to do that. Let's give it a go. So yeah, I signed up for the course, which I went on in January 2010.
Okay, so this is where our paths now cross.
Yep.
During this time, I was a tutor for a company called the European Institute of Fitness, who have a 6-week personal training course to help individuals who want to embark on a personal training career live, sleep, eat, consume themselves in the world of fitness for 6 weeks, and take an exam at the end to hopefully qualify to then have a career. And you flew over to Spain, which is where it was located, in a lovely little place called Javier, and that's where we met.
Yes, and this guy taught me everything I know.
Well,
everything I know today.
I wouldn't say that, but I think away from that, I think obviously I was there to do a job, and you were there to, have a life experience, which is what EIF was. European Institute of Fitness was a fantastic company that made you have a incredible 6 weeks. The experience, you couldn't even explain it, could you?
No, it was brilliant, start to finish.
But we just clicked. And to be fair, we shouldn't have clicked, because I'm an Arsenal fan and you're a Spurs fan, and we shouldn't really give each other the time of day.
I always know there's something a bit dodgy about you, but it took a little while to kind of get it out of you that you're an Arsenal fan, if I'm honest, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, so we shouldn't have really been friends. We shouldn't have really spoke, other than the fact that I was there to teach you and you were there to absorb the information. But all joking aside, you came in. This isn't a plug for European Institute of Fitness, but you had a great time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, loved it. Absolutely loved it. And it was good to be around, because obviously before I was around recruitment people, I was around pub people, I was around. So it was good to kind of be around so many kind of like-minded people as well. Yeah.
Yeah, so the 6 weeks flew by. We became very good friends. You moved back to, you moved back to England, you finished the course, you graduated, you're now qualified as a personal trainer. Mm-hmm. You are a bit like passing your driving test. Off you go.
Yeah.
What do you do?
I looked at a Facebook post to see that you were looking for a personal trainer in the gym that you were in as a general manager at the time. And yeah, I moved up, packed my bags and come up to Nottingham, mate.
Just to give people some context there. So I taught you your personal training course for 6 weeks. I was one of your tutors. But you were also my last group, because I moved back to England.
Yes. Yeah.
So I moved back to England and landed a position in a gym, and we were recruiting. So I put out a post saying, look, we're recruiting for personal trainers. Anybody interested? And obviously we're friends on all social media platforms. And you got the job. Can't remember if you were the only person who applied, but you got the job. And this is the thing, I'd been in the fitness industry for a long time before that. I think 6 years before. So I had 6 years experience prior to you becoming qualified. Mm-hmm. The moment I saw you step foot in that gym and just talk to people, help people, guide people, I just knew that you just had a natural talent, and you just had the characteristics and the manners and the skill set to really connect with people and help them, which is why in those last 10 years you've been able to achieve what you've achieved. So you had a brief stint in my gym, or the gym that I was working at, and you did well, but then you moved back home. Then what happened? Why did you move back home?
I was kind of at a point where, and again, it was quite heavily put to us, I think, in a good way, at European Institute of Fitness, where I qualified. It was kind of put on us that it's a possibility to run your own gym. Do you know what I mean? Like before I started the course, I don't think I ever even considered it. It was a bit more of a dream. Do you know what I mean? So I kind of, obviously I learned so much working at the gym in Nottingham with you and with other trainers and managers and everything else. And I kind of got to a point, I think quite quickly, where I decided it wasn't for me working in the gym, and I wanted to work for myself and I wanted to build up a business. So to do that, I think it felt a bit more of a stability to be in my hometown, to be back home around people that I know, to be able to promote me, to be able to push me, to be able to kind of, do you know what I mean? It just felt a bit more comfortable to kind of do that at home, which is why I went back home. And then I kind of basically got a job, which was kind of shift work in another gym in London. But it was kind of more of an opportunity to sort of build up a client base, which was about, I suppose, an hour and a half out from there. And it just meant if I was on an early shift in the gym, then I'd be able to train my personal clients in a park in the evening and vice versa. So it kind of gave me the platform to kind of be able to work things around it until I was in a position to sort of give up the gym entirely and just do it all on my own.
So you were just clocking up hours after hours after hours just to really get it off the ground.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have the money to kind of not work and to start just solely doing one personal training session a week. I literally wouldn't have survived a couple of weeks. So I kind of needed that in the background to kind of bring a stable money in, stable income. And then obviously, as I say, to kind of build up whatever I can outside of that.
And was that the moment when your company was born, Life Change Fitness?
Yes, yeah, it was, yeah. So it started, I usually go, because I started doing 1 hour a week in a park and things like that, I kind of basically started on when we started our boot camps, which was April 2011. So it'll be 10 years of LCF in April this year.
Amazing.
Which is big milestone. I still can't believe it.
See it in your face.
Blown by.
So why just? I mean, I find stuff like this branding, for example, Paramount Fitness. I Google, I mind mapped loads of things when I was creating my business and my brand and the colours and the scheme and all that sort of stuff. What made you choose Life Change Fitness?
It was, so at the end of, again, plugging EIF here, but at the end of that, we had to do sort of a presentation of where we see ourselves, what we're going to do with the qualification and everything else. And I suppose it was by the end of that course, I realised that I did eventually want my own place and studio and all that kind of thing. So we were kind of knocking around ideas with the guys that I was sort of staying with there. And it kind of came to me a little bit, obviously, as cheesy as it sounds, doing the marathon and things like that did turn things around for me after obviously everything happened with Oliver. So yeah, it was kind of one of those things. I Googled Life Changing Fitness, and that was already taken by a couple of people in America, and I think someone up somewhere in Britain. So yeah, Life Change Fitness kind of got formed there and then.
Very good. So we're snowballing. We're gaining some momentum. You've qualified in something that's new, that you didn't have any history in. And it's continued to snowball ever since. And you've helped hundreds, thousands of people with you and your team. You now have a team of trainers. And we'll get onto that in a second. But so that's 2010, and you're working all the hours, under the sun to try and make this work and try to gain a client base. Why did you sign up for another marathon?
I can't actually remember, if I'm honest. It was kind of one of them things that it was, the moment you finish the marathon, as I said, one of the best feelings ever. And then you kind of get the aches and pains the next morning. You think, never doing that again. Literally never doing that again. I'm glad I've done it, but never again. Then the following year, I went to London to watch the marathon and thought, I kind of got the buzz back, cheering people on, hearing other people cheering people on, talking to people whose son's doing it, or daughter's doing it, or wife's doing it, or husband's doing it, and everything else. And I kind of thought, so what? I think I might do it one more time. And obviously the first time I'd done it, I just wanted to finish it. Like the time didn't even come into my head. I just wanted to finish it. And then once you've done it once, you've kind of got a bit of a time to aim towards as well. So I kind of thought it would be quite good if I do it one more time and just beat that time, even by like a minute or so. So yeah, that kind of gave me the push. So then I ended up doing it in 2011.
And 13.
And 2013. Because I had another time that I wanted to be. And again, it was exactly the same story though. I finished 2011 and I was like, there's no way I'm doing that again. That was a ridiculous idea to even consider doing it twice. And then again, 2012, I went to London to watch it. And I kind of thought, you know what? 3 times the charm, and I might do it just one more time. And then done it in 2013.
Do you think you'll do any more?
Every time I say no, I end up entering the ballot and just basically put it by chance. If I don't get in, I don't get in. If I do get in, then great, let's get training.
Yeah, but I've entered the ballot before. Before, and the idea of entering the ballot, you're like, oh yeah, I'll do it. But then when the email comes through saying you haven't been allocated a place, you're just like that. Oh.
Yes. Yeah, thank you for that.
Thank you. There's a little bit of a weird kind of, just emotion that gets attached to the relief that you haven't got it. Then on the other hand, if you've got a place, you'd probably just take it with both hands and go for it.
Yeah, no, so
definitely. You're 3 years into Life Change Fitness. You're helping hundreds of thousands of people. You started off in a park.
Mm-hmm.
You opened a studio?
So we went from working in a park to going to work. We went from that, to working in a park during the day, and then I hired a room. Basically, it was a canteen in a office block, which I used in the evenings. Obviously, when there was no one else around, they let me use. I didn't like break in or anything. And it sounded like I just sort of picked the lock, done a session. Done that in the evening, and then again it was kind of until I had enough money to be able to commit to renting a place and paying for rent. Then moved into the same office block. They had a unit for me. I moved into there where I was up until last year,
which we'll get to in a second.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so amazing journey already. Okay, but again, just to bring it back down a little bit to a little bit of a somber note, 2016, your dad passed away. How does that then impact your mindset? You're working on your own, and as a self-employed business owner myself, you spend a lot of time on your own. Yes, you've got a team around you, so you can talk to them, but you've also got this kind of stigma that you're a man, so you shouldn't really be talking about it. But how did you deal with
that? It was difficult. Again, it was completely out of the blue. Similar, obviously, like it was with my little brother. It was kind of just not expected. It wasn't like he was ill for a long time. I was actually on my way to Vegas. I was at the airport, at Heathrow Airport, and got a phone call to say that my dad was in hospital. So luckily, thank God, they told me sort of quite quickly how serious it could be, and I didn't get on that flight. So it was another really. I was really close to my dad, really, really close to my dad. So it was tough, but I was in a better place, I suppose, in my life. I had a client base, so I was responsible for clients with everything, as I said to you, everything that happened with my little brother. I was in a place where I didn't really care about my job. I didn't really care about that. If they told me the next day that I'd been an idiot, like, I didn't care about it. Whereas this, I had to kind of stay level-headed, and I had to kind of try to take time, obviously, which my clients were absolutely incredible at that time, and so was the people that were working with me. Everyone was just really, really amazing. I had to kind of take a bit of time just to kind of digest exactly what's happened. And then it kind of got to the point where I kind of thought, this isn't a 19-year-old me anymore. I've got responsibilities, and I've worked too hard to go off the rails and too hard to do. And yeah, I suppose I kind of had a different mindset, and obviously a lot more mature, a matured mindset as well. And unfortunately, obviously experiencing in that and the process of kind of grieving and everything else.
Yeah, well, I had the pleasure of meeting your dad on a number of occasions. Great man, great man. Yeah, and what else?
Yeah.
What else can you say? Like I said, I met him a few times, had beers with him. Great guy, always had great stories to tell. So it's a big loss. But like I said, you know, and like you just said, you were extremely close to him.
Yeah.
I've lost my trail of thought a little bit. It's just thrown me slightly, but it's a real conversation with real people, and you know, you said that your clients got you through it. And you said that the difference between the 19-year-old Rob and how old were you at this time? So it's 4 years ago, 5 years ago?
I was, it was just before my 30th birthday.
Okay, just before your 30th birthday. So you got 10, 11 more years of life experience. But I think the big thing that you were so close to saying then was that you had purpose.
Yeah.
And you had a life purpose. So you knew that even though you just lost quite possibly your best friend, your clients, your business, Life Change Fitness, your team, that is what you'd found as your life purpose. And that's what pulled you through.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I still had family. I was my family obviously I was really close to the rest of my family as well, and I was engaged with Laura, so, and she was very close to my dad as well. And it was just, yeah, I mean, obviously, as I said to you, my clients were really understanding, and they were just kind of shocked. I think they thought I was in Vegas. And yeah, when I kind of got back to work, and they were like, "So how's Vegas?" And I was like, "Sit down for a minute. I've got something to really quickly talk you through." So yeah, they were great, and they did pull me through. And as I said, I did feel like I had a purpose, and I felt like I had a responsibility. And it helped me stay on track this time for sure, 100%.
Then I mean, we were speaking over this time. I think in actual fact, I came down to visit you, didn't I? Went to the pub. Did it have any negative impact on your health this time around?
I don't know. Very, very short term, I suppose it probably did. I've kind of got, as you say, you came down, we went to the pub. I've got a group of mates like down here as well who are quite, you've had a crap day, let's go pub. So it kind of, I suppose on the short term it did, but I was just really, really aware. And with the work that I was doing here, obviously I was doing something that I did care about and working with people that I did care about. And the thought of sort of going on a bender the night before and then having to be in front of a client, telling them to be healthy and be fit and be ready at 6 o'clock the next morning, it just doesn't happen. It can't happen in my head. So yeah, it kind of, yeah, it did sort of keep me focused.
And you mentioned at the time you were engaged to the lovely Laura.
Yes.
Following year, you get married.
Yes.
And I had great pleasure of being at your wedding. Which was a truly stunning day from start to finish. Great day. So that's 3 years ago.
Yeah.
2017. I don't know Rob's life inside out. I've got some notes. You might keep drawing over.
I haven't got any notes.
I'm not like I know Rob's life really well. Okay, so we fast forward. Okay, so you're married. Yeah.
Yep.
But the last few years have been incredible for you. You know, like I said, you help hundreds, thousands of people over your platform. You've got a great team. You've got Courtney and Stacey. Casey, sorry. Courtney? I don't know where that came from. Casey and Stacey.
Yep.
Apologies, Casey. You're probably going to watch this or listen at some stage.
And we've also taken on a couple more people as well. So Matt and Grace as well.
Matt and Grace.
Yeah. Matt and Grace.
Wow. Wow.
There's now 5 of us.
Amazing. So
yeah.
This is the thing. You're helping a lot of people, right? And you've just opened, or you've just moved from it was a small studio, but it served the purpose and it helped lots of people. Yep. And it's, at the end of the day, it's just 4 walls. It's the community that you've created. But now you've moved to a brand new studio with a fantastic team of trainers around you, helping lots and lots of people. And the thing with the fitness industry, and we briefly spoke about it before we started this podcast, or this visual if you're watching via YouTube, the fitness industry can be crowded with trainers trying to prove that they know what they're doing via Instagram and social media posts of taking their top off. Look at me, look how hard I train, which is great, which is fine. Where do you see the fitness industry, and why do you approach and provide a service the way that you do? Because, I mean, you've never taken your top off. You've never had a social media post of, look at me, I've got rippling abs. Where do you see the fitness industry going wrong? And why do you do the things you're doing, which are clearly doing things the right way?
I suppose I just try to do, it sounds really cheesy, but try to do me. Do you know what I mean? I've never have been that guy to kind of take my top off and to do that kind of thing. And I think it would show how uncomfortable I'd feel doing that as well. So yeah, I suppose I've just kind of always sort of done it my way. I've blagged it a bit, and I've kind of learned a bit, and I've sort of, I mean, social media for me, I mean, take it back a couple of years and it was like I had no idea, absolutely no idea. And obviously still learning, because it's sort of constantly changing. But yeah, I have kind of forgotten what you were asking me now.
You've got a phenomenal community.
Yes.
It's growing. You wouldn't have been able to move to a new place. I kind of forgot what you asked me. Right. So you've just moved to a new place, right? You've got a phenomenal community.
Yeah.
Where the whole industry now is all about calorie deficit, which is great. You know, there's more awareness of things. But you, from what I see, let the mass of the herd go that way, and you just go off this way. You do your own thing. You do it the LCF way.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of that, I kind of feel that we are more focused on changing lifestyles. So we're not kind of one for trying to sell meal replacement shakes and trying to sell this approach to people and that approach to people. If a client comes to me and says, you know, this is my food diary, I won't tear it apart and go, you can't eat that, you can't drink that, you can never have wine again, you can never have fun again, you can never do this, because in my eyes, that's great. You'll get a very, very good and quick before and after photo within 3 to 4 weeks, which is brilliant. And then it'll come a point where they'll go, do you know what, Rob's a bit of an idiot. Like, this isn't going to happen, and I really can't be bothered with it anymore. So I suppose, and it kind of proves that with the sort of the longevity of the client base that we've got. I mean, we've still got boot campers that have been with us from the very first ever boot camp 10 years ago, and they're kind of still training with us. So I think that's definitely helped us in a way, in a big way, that we kind of we like to kind of dive a little deeper than, tell you what, train every day and take this shake, or train every day and just eat broccoli and just eat it. Like, it's kind of more of a lifestyle thing. So we try and make sure that if you're eating too much of this, then try having a little bit less of this and a bit more of this. And it's kind of a little bit more of that approach. We like to think we sort of listen to our clients, and if they say that they prefer this style of training, then we might make sure that we adapt it, like a lot of personal trainers, I'm sure. It's nothing sort of completely new and blowing the industry apart, but it's just something that kind of works for us. It works for our client base, it works for our community, it works for our sort of the town that we're in. A lot of our work comes through word of mouth, because it's quite a tight knit, quite a small sort of place where sort of a lot of people talk to a lot of people and know a lot of people. So I think that's quite important for us to make sure that we take that approach, really. And it's not just the approach of, oh yeah, I went down to Life Change Fitness, I was there last year, done it for 4 weeks, got really good results, and then sort of went back to square one again. We like to kind of think that we kind of coach people through the changes, basically.
Yeah, and like I said, from what we've spoke about in the past on conversations and what I see on social media, you can clearly see that you've got great relationships with all of the people you work with. It's not a conveyor belt system where you say 4-week transformation, you're in, you're out. Yeah. There's no kind of education behind it. So let's just quickly touch on this new studio.
Yes.
How's it going?
We can't really use it, can we?
Right.
The worst time ever.
So just to add insult to injury, I guess, you've worked your socks off. You've opened a new studio. New studio is phenomenal, by the way, and we'll do some plug-in towards the end. You've opened this new studio. It looks the nuts. Did you open it for like a day, or did you not open it at all? And then Boris puts us in national lockdown.
Yeah, so we opened. So it's basically purposely built for us. So we got an architect in, and it was all kind of down to our design, which was really cool actually to go through the process and see sort of the before, talking of before and afters, the before and after of the unit. So yeah, all really excited. We organised a very limited open day, which wasn't sort of our intention. Obviously, when we first started discussing a new studio, we wanted this big open day, everyone coming down, and a bit of a party sort of vibe and atmosphere, and 3 sessions and all that kind of stuff, which obviously we knew wasn't going to happen, which was gutting, but we kind of worked our way around it. And we had, at the time, we could have a small group sort of sessions going on and making sure they'd left before the next person came in. Everyone knows the process by now. And then the day before that was meant to happen, Boris announced is the second lockdown in November. So we opened on open day was November the 1st, and our closing day was November the 4th, I think it was. But having said that, we're very lucky that we've got now in the new place, which we didn't have in the old place, we've got a really nice outdoor area, which is sort of laid out in AstroTurf, so you don't have to sort of, it's got pull-up bars, it's got dip bars, we're close to sort of obviously outside the studio, so we can kind of bring anything in. I've got a heating in the studio, so in between sessions I could just go in and like just put my feet on the radiator for 5-10 minutes. Yeah. So no, we are lucky. As much as it's gutting to not be able to use the studio, we've kind of done everything that we can to kind of make use of what we do have and what we are allowed to do. So yeah.
And ultimately, when restrictions do get lifted, you've got an incredible studio to move back into.
Yeah, it's just really exciting just to kind of show everyone the full potential of it, I suppose. And hopefully in the not too distant future, there'll be coming a time where there's not a 6-person limit and all that, and we'll just kind of get a bit more of a kind of a buzz back and get everyone in there.
Yeah, absolutely. The good thing about that new place is it's bigger.
Yeah, so, much more spacious. Yeah.
If we get to a point where restrictions are unlimited in terms of indoor in a gym, providing there's social distancing, you've got way more space now than what you had in your first.
Yeah, it's much better set up, obviously, than the first one. The first one was just a room. As you said, it was kind of like 4 walls and it had equipment in it, and we had probably more equipment in there than was necessary in terms of sort of space, and it just wouldn't have suited coronavirus restrictions in the slightest. So this one we've kind of moved in. We've got sort of more of a PT side, and then the other side we've kind of thought that space is key. So between myself and my now business partner, we've sort of left the group side quite open spaced, so that hopefully, as I say, not too far away, hopefully we can get people in and they'll still feel comfortable. As it's got the windows, it's got 2 exits, it's got all that kind of stuff. So we are a lot better set up for when we can, hopefully soon, open.
Your business partner, your new business partner, Casey.
Yes.
Not Courtney. I don't even know where Courtney came from. I don't know.
No idea.
Right, we're coming towards the end, but this year's going to get a little bit more hectic for you.
It certainly is.
You are 8 weeks away from the new edition.
Yes. Yeah.
Little baby on the way.
Yeah, I was saying to you, wasn't I, before that it's kind of, it's getting a bit real. So yeah, 8 weeks, and again, my life will change once again.
Yeah.
Really exciting. Really exciting.
As the listeners, the viewers will know from what we've talked about so far, if there's anybody that can adapt and conquer, it's Mr. Rob Horslen, which is why I happily put you in legendary status.
Well, I'm not sure about that.
So where can these guys find you? Obviously, if anyone's listening or watching and they're in your area, where is your gym?
We're based in Hoddesdon. So we're in a place called Rye House Stadium. So it's run by, there's go-karting there, there's us, there's soft play, there's football that's come in. He's basically the guy there has just created like a big, I suppose his kind of vision is a big sort of sports centre. So we're based there, next to Rye House train station. And then in terms of sort of online platforms, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter. So yeah, look us up.
What's your handle? What's your Instagram name? What's your username?
I've lost you, Lee. I've lost you. I lost you. I've got you back.
Well, look, put it this way. If we can get to 50 minutes and only have one technical issue from a guy, I mean, this guy, he was late. We were meant to start this podcast about an hour ago, but he couldn't find the on button for his computer.
Where believe you for a second? I was thinking, was I late?
Where can these guys find you then? What's your usernames for your socials?
It's life_change_fitness.
Life Change Fitness _ between each word.
Yeah, if you just look up Life Change Fitness on any of the platforms, then we'll come up between myself.
In touch with you, they can come down to, when you're reopened, they can come down to your new facility in Hoddesdon.
In Hoddesdon, yes. Yeah. And as well, we're kind of doing a lot of, if you're not in the area, we're doing a lot of online work as well, Zoom boot camps and getting with the times.
Yeah, I've seen you.
Right?
Home workouts. You're very much like Hoddesdon's Joe Wicks, aren't you?
Easy now. I wish I had his success, and I wish I had his money right now. Not doing bad, right?
You know, we've all got an opinion on him. We won't. This podcast is about Rob Horslen, not about Joe Wicks. Rob, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate. I can't thank you enough for coming on to the podcast, this visual episode that's going to go on YouTube as well, because you've gone through such a journey. And I'm privileged to be able to call you a very good friend, a fellow decent fitness professional. Obviously I've known you 10, 11 years and you've done incredible things. I'm sure you'll continue to do incredible things. So thank you so much for coming on, sharing your story.
Thanks for the invite, mate. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure. I'm sure the guys listening in will have thoroughly enjoyed this episode. Guys, if you do want to get in contact with Rob, I will put his studio address and his social media handles in the comment sections below. But for now, I shall wrap things up and say thank you ever so much for joining us. I hope you've enjoyed the episode. Take care.